let's get to it. Ty, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm excited to have you here. How's your day going?
Good, Tanner, man. I'm excited. Thanks for having me on here. I'm excited to kind of give some game and give some advice and stuff.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about networking, your backstory on some real estate stuff. But let's start with how you first kind of got into real estate and where you are now.
Yeah, so I got started in beginning of 2023, bought my first duplex that I'm house hacking in right now, and it's been a pretty great deal. But to really kind of say to get the backstory, I really started in 2020. And I say that because unfortunately I had a passing in my family of my dad, and he actually was just going to get started in real estate as well. He was going to get his first home at 47. He had started a business, had an LLC. And for me, after seeing some of the stuff he went through and just seeing him really get started at 47, I told myself early, like, I'm not going to wait until 30, 40, 50 to finally get started in business and real estate. So I think having that happen to me, I also had an internship in school where I was in banking and got exposure to that. And I realized, man, like a lot of these wealthy people are in real estate. They have it in their balance sheets. They have it, they're making income from it, whether that's their business property, personal property, whatever it is. I was in a credit, and I got to see a lot of like statements where it's like, oh, these people got 5 investment properties over here. They got an Airbnb, a vacation home. And then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I know a lot of people read that book, and that book really started it for me. So I read that in a crucial time where I was kind of grieving with my dad, was at the bank, but all those things kind of led me to buy my first property in 2023.
That's awesome. Do you remember anything specifically about Rich Dad Poor Dad that really stuck out to you?
So for me, and this applies to a lot of people in my family and how I grew up, they were always taught to work for money, right? I had a working grandfather. My mom's a worker. She's in accounting. My dad was a truck driver. Even my grandma, she was a real estate agent, but they worked for money, but they never let the money work for them. So I remember like putting it all together in the book. It was like, man, like no one in my family is making this money work for them. They're always working for it and are using like their hard-earned time working for money, but they weren't letting the money work for them. So that was really the key takeaway. And I think also in the book, if you can't handle your salary now or where you're at now financially, if you were to get some more money or if you were to increase your net worth or whatever it is, that won't matter if you can't be disciplined with what you have now. So I think those are the big 2 lessons for me is like make your money work for you, and then also be able to manage and budget your money, no matter if you're a millionaire, $60,000 salary, $30,000, like you got to be able to manage that no matter where you're at.
Yeah, I definitely think budgeting is key for getting your first property, because once you get there and you're managing like 5-10 properties and having to go through all those income statements and expenses and everything, it's going to be chaos if you don't know how to manage your own at like $50,000 or less. Like that's like the foundation that you're building at that start.
So true.
Once you bought this first property, were you telling your family about what you were planning to do, and were they supportive of that?
You know what? I look back, and my mom was a little hesitant at first. And I tell people
it's probably new for her too. She was probably like, I don't know. And
yeah, and I think that's like to people out there, that's normal. I had a lot of people hesitant, and I had just graduated college as well in 2022 in May, and I got the property beginning of 2023. But that was like, they were like, oh, like you might need to wait. The market's kind of high. Like, and at the time, the rates were at 5.8. They're like, oh, like it's kind of high, and it would end up going to 8% that year. But I think for me, it was like you're going to hear that no matter what you're doing, real estate wise, networking, business, you're going to have some people that are kind of hesitant. And I think, like I said, that's okay. Accept that. And I think I had to surround myself with people that were doing it, that did do it, so I could get their advice and hear, okay, hey, it's going to be okay. Here's what I did. Start early. I think that was one of the biggest things, like start early. Even if you fail first, it's okay. I started at 23, and I think I've been learning along the way of like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is how I do it. Here's some other advice. So I think you're going to get that. And I heard that from my family. And I think even my dad was alive. He would have been like, oh, like might need to save some more. You might need to do this. But I think looking back, I have some equity now on the property. I'm cash flowing, but I'm not financially free. But I think the biggest thing it's done is it gave me a story to tell. And it's also got me that exposure and experience now.
Hmm.
So then if I
That's
do my
awesome.
next deal, I know what to look at. If I do another deal, or if my friends looking to house hack or get started, I kind of know the steps now. So I think that's the
Hmm.
biggest thing, and that's going to continue to help me my next property and my next property. So I think
Hmm.
that's the big thing.
You mentioned that you started to surround yourself by other like-minded people. Was there a specific place you went, or how did you start doing that in order to start getting around the right people within real estate?
Yeah, first was banking for me. I had the internship, so that was huge to get around people that were lenders, people that were working with business owners. Seeing that side of things first, I really was blessed where I got to see what you needed to get a home. So
Mhm.
making sure your W-2s are in order, your taxes. So that was the first step. After I rich After I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think that's when I was like, okay, I need to find other people that have read this or know about this and are kind of interested in real estate, stocks, business. And at the time I was in school too, and not a lot of my friends necessarily were interested in that. I told them read the book or do this, but it's like, oh, like we'll get to it at some point. So for what I had to do was use my online community, right? And that's how I found
Mhm.
Bigger Pockets, and that's actually how we met.
Mhm.
Where I got connected to other investors through that. I got connected to other investors in my local area, and then I started to go to local meetups. I started to ask for coffee meetings. I started to ask, hey, like I would love to see how have you done this? Like, what are your next deals? How can I help in my situation? So I think it's like putting myself out there and not being afraid to hear no, because I did hear no from people that were had 50 properties, or they were cash flowing
Mhm.
$1,000 or $30,000, $50,000, but I kept going. And I think I used my connections at the bank and at school to get in front of more people and surround myself with the people that I need to do to and end up closing my deal. So that's kind of how
Mhm.
I surrounded myself. Was Bigger Pocket was a big help in that, and just other investors in my local area.
Mhm. That's wonderful that just being connected with other people kind of almost like talks yourself into committing to do it, because you hear all these people saying, "Oh yeah, I did this, I did this, I did that," and you're like, "Dang, like they're doing it. Why can't I do it?" It's like kind of just
Hmm.
gives you the confidence to actually pull the trigger instead of being surrounded by people that have not done it and are hesitant and are kind of giving you that negative energy towards doing something new and making that leap, which could cause you to be scared to do it and never do it ever at that point. When you found your first deal, how did you find it, and what was the like process for running the numbers and everything?
Yeah, so this is where I love to talk about the power of networking and the power of being in the room. I have the saying of being in the room. It's so crucial. So April of 2022, I started going to my local meetup in the Quad Cities. So it's in Western Illinois, Eastern Iowa, is where
Mhm.
I'm at right now. And first meeting, I think, and this is big when you're going to networking events or just putting yourself out there. You want to be intentional about what you're saying and the story that you're telling people, because that's what they're going to remember you by. So I remember the first meeting, we went around, made introductions. We were kind of in a small, I think it was about 15 people. So we got to go around the room. I was like, hey, my name's Ty Lewis. I'm a senior right now at St. Ambrose University, graduating in May. Looking at house hacking, get my first deal after I graduate. Looking for a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, something that's kind of move-in ready, something to get my feet wet in real estate. And for the next about 5 meetings, they had one every month. I would say that same thing, and making sure people knew who I was. Also, like I said, I was very blessed that I worked at a bank, so I was able to use some of the banking connections as well to say, hey, I work at Quad City Bank. Um, Let me provide value. And I think that's another big thing with networking, like what value can you provide to people? And I was able to use my connections at the bank and also at my school, like, hey, like there's some other people at school that might be, if you're a real estate agent, you might be able to contact, or alumni, whatever that is. So fast forward from April to October, like I said, I went to those meetups, came across one of the guys at the meetup while going to the gym. And at the time, I had just not like a deal had fell off. I actually had a fourplex that I thought I was going to get under contract, and that's a dream. That's a dream start for an investor. Get the fourplex,
Yep.
move in, all the numbers worked out. But the guy ended up having an investor come in and bought. He had 3 other duplexes as well. He bought them all
Mhm.
for a one price, a cash offer, and I was like, yeah, I can't beat that. So I told the guy that I was like, yeah, like I'm still looking, couldn't find anything. And he was like, we actually are flipping a duplex right now that we got under contract. And I think this is something you'll be interested in. So fast forward, a couple weeks, ended up seeing it. And like I said, I closed beginning of January on and it's got it at 190. It's a 3-1 on both sides. So I got to move in, nobody on the other side. So I got to lease that out and kind of find the right tenant for my property and stuff. And the numbers for me, it was just kind of, it made sense because I was able to live in there. And I think I knew from the jump, even if I couldn't cash flow all the way, it's a win just to get started. From a standpoint of now some of my income, instead of going to a 1,500 or 2,000 apartment, I was able to at least put some of that towards saving, investing, getting my next deal while my mortgage or rent was low. But I ended up finding a tenant on the other side and also a roommate on my side. So I've been cash flowing about $300, give or take.
Awesome.
But that all goes kind of back into the business. But that's over time. That was me planting the seed in April, letting not only the people at the networking event know, but also my connections on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, people at the bank, other realtors. And then from there, the deal kind of came to me after one didn't fall through. So networking, it's a long-term game too. You have to be strategic. You have to be intentional. But yeah, that's kind of how I got my first deal.
That's awesome. So is it side by side or an up down duplex? Side by side. And is it 2 bedrooms, 1 bath on each side?
3 bed, 1 bath.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And what was the purchase price for?
I got it at 190, and I actually got a sweet, I guess they call it portfolio loan, where I got a conventional 3% down loan. It's a kind of a first time home buyer loan. And this is one of the things too about networking is you find different loan products and different kind of, I don't even say secrets, but different things that kind of aren't advertised on just the everyday market. So I was able to get, instead of even using FHA, I could still use my FHA for my next one, which I am going to plan to look at FHA for my next one. But I was able to use a conventional loan that was 3% down. So I put about $6,000 into that. And then from there, like I said, it was a flip that an investor had flipped, and it was already kind of ready to move in. So didn't need any other repairs or anything. Just kind of had to put the other side up for rent and get that tenant in, and then get my roommate in back in June. So
that's awesome, nice and smooth, just quick turnaround.
Yeah.
So with your networking, you started that in April, right? And you didn't find your deal till November.
October, November.
Like 7, 8 months basically of networking, like being very, very patient, like knowing what your goals are and focusing every day to find it. Did you ever get like burned out? Like, dang, this is never going to happen. Or, maybe I should just go do something else.
Yeah.
Did that ever happen to you?
It did. And I think I tell people it's a long-term game because even it really took 2 years. It really started back in 2021 when I was getting introduced to Rich Dad Poor Dad. Bigger Pockets. I listen to Earn Your Leisure. It's another podcast group I listen to, but it took 2 years. And I tell people it takes time because I was actually building a foundation before I even started. So I had, like I said, the foundation of the bank where I could go to people about loans and go to people about some of the credit stuff. Then from there, I used those connections to get to agents and then use those connections to get to investors. But I think I realized in August, September, right after I graduated, when my fourplex that I just talked about didn't come through, that's when I'm like, man, like this was the dream, like this didn't work. I had to really, and this is why surrounding yourself with the right people, so key. I had the right people telling me, hey, keep your head up, keep going. It takes time. Like if you want this, you got to stick with it. Real estate's not easy. That's why that's why it takes years to build like cash flow and build equity, like, and appreciate, like it takes time. So I think for me in that moment, I needed those people telling me that. And I think I needed to know you got to be in it for the long term. You have to with networking. Like if you're looking for something right away, you're screwed. Even in sales, if you're looking for to sell, if you need it today, or you're done, you're screwed because you're going to do something that's out of character. You're going to do something that's not right. You're going to seem too salesy, whatever it is. So I think you have to approach it like, okay, how can I provide value to this person? How can I listen? Right? Because it's funny, the guy that actually gave me my duplex, I got him in contact with my bank about some products. So I actually provided value first before he even came to me about the duplex.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And it's like, I think people need to realize like, you got to help first. you need to listen and ask questions first. Like in a normal networking conversation, coffee meeting, I'm talking 20 to 30% of the time. The other 70%, they're talking because I ask questions. And even if they throw a question back at me, I'm like, well, before I even get into that, I kind of want to learn a little bit more about you. And I think you have to learn that though. And I think I learned that through going to coffees all the time, getting the reps, going to meetups, seeing stuff that, okay, I talked too much in this conversation. Like next time I need to slow down. So I think it's doing the reps, surrounding yourself with the right people, asking good questions. And even if you don't know what questions to ask, I think there's a lot of people out there that have been in your shoes and they will just start giving you game. You don't even need to ask anything. You're just like, hey, like I'm here to learn about real estate. They'll, like, for me, if someone had told me, hey, what do I need to know? I'll read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Here's some couple bigger pockets episodes you need to listen to. Here's some conferences you need to do. Next thing you know, you don't even need that. They didn't even ask a question. I just gave them 5 steps to do
everything
about the next step, so that's the power of like getting around the right people. They'll give you all that. So
is there since you've been killing it networking recently, is there a best way to navigate these networking events if I'm like a first timer when I show up?
Yeah. The best thing I would say, like I said, I look at this like 70-30 rule with listening, right? You need to be listening 70%. 30% of the time when you first meet somebody, you just need you just need to know who they are. Have them talk because people like to talk. And I think that's one thing that I realize is like if you give people a chance to talk and give their story, they're going to talk just like I am now. Like, because I love talking about it. People love talking. And then once you're done, they're like, man, I just got a question, but this man is super interested in my story. So I think when you go about networking, listen, what value can you provide first? How can you make it seem like you're interested? And I won't even say like just forcing it, but actually genuinely interested. Like, hey, like, this is my story. Tell me a little bit about you. I think you have to like provide that value. You have to sit back and ask some good questions. And I think one of the best things, especially if it's a first timer, you're going to need to do it a lot more. That first time is going to be rough. I remember my first networking event. I was the youngest in the room. I'm sitting there like, what do I do? Like, I don't know anything about real estate. That's okay. That's okay. Like there's going to be more times where, like, for instance, like I'm trying to get better at golf. We were just talking that before, before we started the call. Like I'm going to be in some golf tournaments and some golf leagues where I'm the worst person there. That's okay. You got it. You got to get through that. Same with networking. You're going to be nervous. You're going to see a CEO or an investor that's worth millions or is financially free, and you're going to be like, oh, I don't know, like, that's okay. Like it takes time, and that's what I tell people. It takes time. Ask questions, figure out what you want to know in advance, and then find ways to provide value. I think that's the biggest thing.
I think everything you said was spot on. Is there any like questions specific other than like, I always just lead with like what's your real estate journey been like? If you're at a real estate meetup, that's a good one to use. Was there anything specific that you like to use when you first meet someone to kind of get them opening up about themselves that someone could use?
Yeah, there's a couple that I love to do. If you were in my shoes, what questions would you be asking? I think, understanding another person's point of view on, hey, I'm a newbie. Hey, maybe I have my first property. What questions would you be asking? What questions did you ask during this season of your life? What advice would you give your younger self? I think you want to get questions that get people thinking. Not just like how you're doing. Good. That's a normal. You got to switch the brain. You got to trick them to like, oh, that's a great question, right? I think if you hear, like, if somebody says, man, that's a good question, you did your job, because that makes they need time to think about it. That's why they said it's a good question, but they also need time to like process that a little bit. So I think, what advice would you give your younger self? What advice would you give me? What questions would you be asking? What do you wish you would have knew? At whatever age you're at in your first deal, what would you wish you would have knew your first year of being a real estate agent, your first year of being an investor, just simple things like that. And I think over time, like, you're going to start to have more specialized questions. If you're meeting with maybe a lender, hey, what do I need to have on my balance sheet? What does my credit score need to look like? What are some financial advice? I think you'll have those specialized questions, but I like to just ask general questions to start off with. What advice would you give your younger self? What questions would you be asking right now? And this is the big one, the value one. Hey, like, what are some challenges you're dealing with right now?
That's a
This is
good one.
why listening is so key, because if you can listen and solve some of their problems or get them in contact with someone that can solve, you're in. Now they know that you can trust them. Like, this is the thing I love to do. How can you help somebody make money first? So like if I made you money, or if I made you, could get you connected to someone that gave you dollars or gave you a deal, you're more likely to trust me. You're more likely to do more deals with me. You're more likely to put me in rooms or give me access to stuff that you maybe keep closed off. But that's because I help you make money or help provide value to your family or whatever it might be. So you want to ask questions that can lead to that. And I think that's going to help you, like similar to how I got my duplex. It's like, there are going to be some good people that will just help you just because. But I think when you also provide value, and sometimes not even looking for a return.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you don't need to get it back from that person, right? Maybe provide value to a student or your grandparents, and then out of nowhere, you meet this investor. Now he's giving you the game, and I actually got a property that I'm selling that, you seem like a great guy. Let me get you in contact with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I think
there's a book called The Giver. Have you read it?
I haven't.
Have you heard? Can't speak. Read. Have you read it before?
No, The Giver. Who's it by?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember. My friend gave it to me. It was a really good book, and it was all about just giving, 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 and then at the very end, after you've given a ton of value, then ask for something back in return. But that's after you've given so much to helping other people out and everything. And sometimes you don't even have to ask for anything; it'll just kind of come back to you in return, because everyone will see. And I almost see it as like good karma. You're putting good karma out there into the world, and then eventually it'll come back to you if you just keep on putting it out there, which is basically what networking is like, and meeting people and like, oh, I know someone, you should talk to this. I know this person, you should talk to this person. He'll definitely be able to help you out a lot better than I would, type of thing. So just keep on giving, see where that good karma is, and you'll be good.
That's so true. Putting yourself in that, I like to add on to that, because that's very. I need to read that book, because that's a good book. As you're describing it, I kind of look at it in sports, right? I used to play basketball, and I think if you're in the room, if you're diving for loose balls, if you're in the paint, you're just putting yourself out there. At some point, something's gonna happen, right? A ball's gonna come your way. You're gonna get it passed to. You're gonna be able to, score a layup or shoot a three or whatever it is. You're gonna be in position to win if you're there, if you're in the room, if you're asking questions, if you're going to networking events, if you're surrounding yourself with the right people. But I think sometimes if you're on the bench and you're at home, or you're just on your phone scrolling and you're not putting yourself out there to actually win, then that's why you're in the same situation you were last year or whatever it might be. Because I saw that from my family, right? They would man, we need our finances to get better. We need to do this. We need to do that. But they're not at any real estate meetups. They're not going to conferences. They're not reading more books. And I think it's the action of like getting out there, being uncomfortable, being vulnerable. Like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here, but if you can be in the room and then give, right, try to provide some value, like you just said, good karma is going to come around. The universe is going to bless you. I'm a believer in Christ. God's going to bless me. He's blessed me so far. Even if you don't believe if you're not religious, the universe will bless you when you bless others. That good karma is true. And when bad stuff happens, it's probably because you did something bad. And I think, that's kind of deep. But I think if you're good in this world, even for me, like my dad passed away, and I was so mad at the world. But now I see why. It was to get me to the level that I'm at now. I wouldn't be talking about none of this to you if that didn't happen and I didn't go through my pain. But I think it made me the person I am today, and made me realize, hey, I got to act on stuff. I got to get in the room. I got to give. I got to provide value, because I don't want to wait till 47 like he did and unfortunately passed away. And I don't want you to wait until you finally are in a situation where your finances you're struggling, and now you're trying to act. Similar to what I said earlier, like if you're in a situation where you need to sell today, you're screwed, because you're going to have to do something out of your character. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of families have to do. They have an emergency come up. They have something come up where they need the dollars. And now they're having to borrow from Peter to pay Paul, and vice versa. And it's like that puts you in a pickle. So what can you be
Definitely.
doing now to surround yourself in long term, right? You might not need to know this person today. I just made a post on my Instagram, a little short video. Sometimes I was just meeting with people just to meet. And somebody like, oh, like you need to have a plan. And I think, you need to have a plan at some point, but you got to build the foundation. You got to build the trust first.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just meeting with people just, hey, I want to talk. I want to know your story. And guess what? Now, if I do need something from them or they need something from me, it's
Mm-hmm.
easy. Pick up the call, pick up the phone. Let's text. Oh, man, it was good seeing you last week. Oh, man, Ty, we haven't caught up in so long. Like, what can I do for you? Trust is there versus if I need them now you're trying to get the coffee. You're trying to meet them and ask all in the same meeting. It's like, that's tough. It could happen,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, if you have a good foundation, that second meeting, third meeting, now you're like, oh, man, I trust them. Like, yeah, let me connect you with my accountant. Let me connect you with my contractor that I trust.
Mm-hmm. A good example I have for that is in real estate as an agent. I'll get leads, but they're not ready to sell their house right away or to buy a house right away. So you got to give them the value of this is what's going on in the market. Talk to this lender because they are really good at this type of product, or this lender is really good at this product. And oh, check out this house. I know you're not ready, but is this something that would be a good fit? Like I'm talking to them way before we're even ready to buy or sell that house, just so they know that I'm here. I'm keeping my pulse on the market of what's going on, and that I got them when they're ready, and that they can trust me. Is basically what any type of sales is at the end of the day. And with networking is just staying connected. Like, hey, this is what I'm seeing. How you doing? And when you're ready, I'll be able to help you out. And even before you're ready, if you need something else, I know another guy. I know plumbers. I know electricians. If you have something that's going wrong with the house right now, we can help you get taken care of.
So true. That's so true.
Do you think people should have business cards when they're going to networking events?
Man, I went to a conference in last August, and shout out to Drewski. Oh man, his name's Andrew. He lives in Niagara. Or no, he lives in New York. Oh, he's gonna kill me if he listens to this. He lives in New York. I don't know what city, but he gave me an electronic one, like a QR code
Okay.
one where you can, like, I think it's Poppy. You can scan it or tap it, and you need that. You need something. And I think here's a trick for you guys. Sometimes I don't even give my business card out, or I don't even have them scan it. I just make sure I need to capture your information.
Yeah.
Right. Because I don't know if you're going to text me. I don't know if you're going to email me back. But guess what? If I got it, I know I'm going to follow back up somehow, some way. I'm going to follow you on social media. I'm going to do something similar to how we kind of grew our relationship. We met at Bigger Pockets, and we followed up after. We gave each other cards, and I made sure to text you, follow you on a couple of sites. Now we're talking, and I think that's important. So I tell people, have business cards, but one of the best things you need to do, you need to get that other person's card. You need to get their name, your email. You need to follow up with them on social media, phone, email, whatever it is. I think that's the biggest thing. You can have it, and you can just be so like some people are just hand them out. It's like you need to have some type of like contact, and they can see you, because I've seen people just put business cards on the table, and I'm like, you think I'm going to reach out? You think like it might be 1 out of 10 people that actually takes it and like, oh, like I think I need somebody like this. Versus if you actually see them face to face, you get their business card, and you tell them, hey, I'm Ty, like quick little story, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, it was good talking to you. I'm gonna make sure to reach out, and so we can get something set up, a Zoom or a coffee. That's key right there.
When you go to networking events, are you always, after you meet people, are you always following up and doing some type of meeting again? Or are you just doing like sending an email or just doing a phone call if there's someone that maybe you can't help them with right away?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I think for me, this is a trick as well for me in networking events. So for Bigger Pockets, for instance, when we went to the conference, I had all my business cards, all the people I came in contact with. I wrote them all down on a piece of paper on a list, right? And I think I then went back and ranked of like how long did we talk, right? So I kind of did an internal ranking in my head. Did they hear my story? That I get to hear a little bit of theirs? Can I provide value? Is this someone that's going to reach out? Are they too busy? Are they too high up? You kind of got to make the decision for yourself. But I think making a list, right? Because sometimes you meet 20, 30 people, depending on how you operate. Even if it's just 5, I think then, right, especially if you came in contact with all of them and they saw your face and know a little bit about you. I always try to find them on LinkedIn. always try to, depending on if, Instagram, Facebook, depending on which one you're more comfortable with. I know some people are a little bit more private, but I'm one that, hey, like, I think reaching out to them on social media is key. And let me explain a little bit why. Because if you just have their email or phone number, right, it might be months before you actually reach back out to them or find some type of way to get engaged with them. Versus social media, if I'm posting on LinkedIn and we're connected, you're seeing my stuff, right? You might not like it all the time. You might not like my story on Instagram or my Facebook post, but I know you see it. I know, and I think Instagram, something they don't follow you back. That's then the caveat. But Facebook and LinkedIn, once you get added as a friend and they add you back or they connect with you, you see my stuff. So I think then it's like that's touch points. Hey, Ty, man, just saw your post. Like, it's been a while. Let's connect. Or, hey, you posted. Oh man, it's been a minute, Tanner. Like, how we haven't connected yet. Like, let's get reconnected. I met you at Bigger Pockets, but we just haven't got on the call. Like, I see your post or something, right? Or you're posting something about your agents or your podcast. I think, how do you stay relevant? And I think that's the big thing with the follow-up. You want to stay relevant in that person's mind. So in order to get relevant, I like to have that coffee meetup. I like to have that Zoom or Google Meets. And then from there, touch points on social media, right? I'm posting stuff. You need to be posting consistently. And then from there, even if they're posting, comment. Man, congratulations. Congrats on the new role. Congrats on getting your next deal, whatever that might be. And I think that's key. You have to follow up and you have to stay relevant. In order to do that, I like social media.
I like what you say about staying relevant because you want to be top of mind when they think of whatever your niche is. And you need to have whatever you want to focus on. So I try to stay top of mind when it comes to real estate and real estate investing in Colorado. Is like my goal. And then I'll sprinkle some stuff in there about my personal life of me going skiing or hanging out with friends and stuff like that, just so they can see you're still a human being. You're still a normal person. You're not all about like, oh, real estate. I still have a life and do other things that they can connect with you with. Like I have tons of clients where they're like, oh, hey, what'd you do this week? I'm like, oh, I went to Keystone. We skied on the back bulls. It was an awesome time. And he's telling me about what he was doing in Utah. And it's like, oh, great. We have something to talk about other than just real estate business. We actually have a life and can get along and be friends. It's not just so like straightforward to the point and whatnot. But
so true. Yeah, that's good.
Is there any other last like snippets or like secrets you have for networking that you think anyone should really try out at their networking event?
I would say for people that are maybe introvert, or it's a lot harder for them to network, because I know for me, and I think this is why you got to know yourself. I know I'm an extrovert. I don't know if you know Clifton Strengths or Strength Finders or Gallup, but it's this assessment. And I remember taking it, and I have WOO, which is winning others over. And I have also like this, I guess where Relator is in my top 10. So that allows me to want to meet different people and mingle, but then also get below the surface with them and get, find something that's commonality so that we can grow. I know that's me. So I know I thrive in networking events. Other people aren't like that. So I'd say know yourself, know who you are. And if you are an introvert, one of the best advice I can give you, because my mom was like this too, find that extroverted that right? Find that someone, use a little bit of that energy to meet someone that you are seeing that's connecting to something like, oh, he's over here, he's over there. Like, or if you pre-plan and know who's going to be there, you can say, okay, I know Tanner's going to be there. I know he knows a lot of people here. Let me follow him around, right? It might be awkward, but like maybe ask him for an introduction. Hey, Tanner, like, you know me personally, like I'm here, I'm by myself, like I'm kind of nervous. Would you mind introducing me to a couple people? Would you mind being in a conversation with me? Maybe introducing me to this person over here. So I think using people around you, knowing their strengths, and then knowing how you can use them to get you into more rooms. Because even for me now, as I get into more rooms and try to get to more events, if I'm going to continue to network higher, I'm going to need an introduction, right? And in order to get the introduction, I'm going to need to ask. One of the things my dad always said, a closed mouth never gets fed. So if you're at an event and you don't even ask the person that invited you or that to introduce you to people, and now you left the networking event and you're mad or angry that you didn't meet anybody, that's on you. And I think you have to really be intentional and say, hey, let me be vulnerable, because it's hard. I get that. Like, it's hard. Like it's even for me as an extrovert, like I get in rooms and I'm like, man, I'm 24 right now, and all these people they got kids my age, and I'm over here trying to network, and I don't know anybody. But it's like, if I can meet one person, right? If I can meet someone that I know that is comfortable with me, asking them to introduce you to more people. Hey, have you gone to this event before? Hey, are you new too? No, for you, right? I know you have a real estate meetup. Hey, I'm new here. Like, how long have you been coming? Oh, like this is my event. Like, hey, like I don't know anybody here. Like, would you mind introducing me or getting me? You probably would do that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I'd be like, yeah, come talk to this guy right now. Or I would probably network with them for a little bit and like, this is who you need to talk to next. That's probably how I would play that.
And then that also from that standpoint, especially as an introvert, if you help them, right, that actually makes you feel good. Because for me, I love connecting people, right? Because it's not about me all the time. Like, yeah, and I think this is the crazy thing about being in the room. Some people think it's always about you. Sometimes you're in rooms for somebody else, right? I actually have Bigger Pockets. I connected someone I met at another conference that's from Alabama to an investor I met at Bigger Pockets that's in Alabama. Nothing to do with me. Probably never going to do a deal. But sometimes it's not about you. Sometimes you're in rooms and you're giving other people information, other people connections. So, but I think you just have to know yourself. And I kind of call them POP, people of power, or even POI, people of influence, right? Who do you know here that you can talk to that can get you influence on other people? And I think understanding that is key. So I would tell introverts and even extroverts, right? Find that person that knows people, use a little bit of energy to at least meet a couple people, and then ask them to make you other introductions. Like, hey, would you mind making me other introductions? And 9 times out of 10, they will.
I like what you said about what your dad quoted about how closed mouths don't get fed. That is spot on with networking, with sales. And I think it's hilarious how much dating correlates to networking and sales as well. Because if you think a girl's attractive, you got to walk up and say hi. She's not going to come over.
You got to.
Like, you have to. It's like, so you got to start practicing and getting the reps in with networking is the easy one, because everyone wants to talk about themselves. And then because you're going to get shot down with the girl, guaranteed, and most times. So you need to practice and practice and practice and get ready for it. And so basically, if your dad's spot on with a closed mouth never gets fed, with chasing your dreams, with chasing your goals, with anything, really. So fantastic.
So true, yeah.
Is there anywhere people can connect with you on social media and like your LinkedIn stuff?
Yes, so I'm on LinkedIn at Ty Lewis. I'm a director right now at United Way Quad Cities. So if you look at LinkedIn, I'm on there. And then I'm on Instagram as well, Ty Lewie, TYLEWIE. So please give me a follow. Let me know how I can help you, maybe connect you to people. I'm also on Facebook at Ty Lewis. So whatever you have, I'm pretty much on all platforms, Ty Lewis or Ty Lewie. So connect with me. Let's chat. I'm always down to do a one-on-one. Like I said, I love meeting people. I love connecting the dots. It's not about me sometimes. It's, what can I do for you, right? What can I do to help? So yeah, I'm on those platforms and love to get connected to you.
Awesome. Thanks again, Ty. It was a fantastic podcast. You had a ton of value for people. So I hope someone learned something there. And hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes. Thanks, Tanner. Appreciate you, man.